I hope you all are doing well. Welcome to iProLege. So we will start with our revision series from chapter 3, Interpretation of Statute. So how are we going to proceed with this session? Everything that you need to know from this chapter will be covered in detail. All right. Along with that, I have made case laws list. So that also will be covered. And then we will see all the past year questions from this chapter. So this will be purely exam oriented. It is not that we are going to skip anything. No, we are going to cover everything in detail, everything that you should know for the exam. So shall we start? Yes. Okay. Interpretation of statute. So first thing, there are how many organs of state? There are 3 organs of state: legislature, executive and judiciary. What is the role of legislature? It is to make laws. Correct? Legislature is law making body. What is the role of executive? It is to implement the law. What law legislature frames, that will be implemented by which body? Executive. Now the third body, judiciary. What is the role of the judiciary? Yes, judiciary is what? Court. The primary thing, whatever you can just suddenly remember, is what is the role of court? It is to give justice. But there is another very important role of judiciary, that is interpretation. What is the role of judiciary? It is to interpret the law. That is the primary role of judiciary. So now this interpretation is done by whom? It is done by courts. Got it? Who does the interpretation? Courts. So before we get into that, what do you mean by statute? Whatever legislature has intended and expressed in the written form is called as a statute. I will repeat. Whatever legislature, who is legislature? Lawmaking body. Whatever this legislature has intended and has expressed in the written form is called as a statute. So statute is called as the will of the legislature. What is a statute? Legislature expresses in the written form. This is called as statute. Okay. Then next. Now what do you mean by this interpretation of statute? Now legislature has framed law. Of course, there might be some sort of confusion. That law could be unclear. It could be ambiguous. It is creating some sort of confusion. Now it is the duty of the court to interpret the law. How should the court interpret the law? Court should check the intention of the legislature. So considering the intention of the legislature, court has to do the interpretation. All of you clear? What do you mean by interpretation of statute? So it is whose role to do interpretation? It is the role of the court to do interpretation. How should the court do interpretation? Considering the intention of the legislature. All of you clear? Yes. Now, this is very, very important. That's the sentence that you need to remember. Court should interpret the law in a way that it fulfills the intention of the legislature. Repeat it again. Very, very important. Courts should interpret the law in a way that it fulfills the intention of the legislature. Now the lawmaker has intended something and framed that law. Now court has to interpret it considering the same intention. Court cannot just randomly guess or assume certain things and just give its own interpretation. No, they have to check the intention of the legislature. That needs to be fulfilled. Now, how do courts check the intention of the legislature? First, the court needs to understand the social conditions. What was the circumstances during that time when that particular law was framed? Why was this law framed? And what was the problem at that time which this particular law did not have any solution? That is why we had to come up with a separate law. So court needs to understand the social conditions and identify the problem which is called as mischief the law wanted to solve. What was the problem that particular law wanted to solve? Courts need to check that. At that time, court can understand the intention of the legislature. Understanding Now, why is interpretation required? Now, if the law is clear, there is no confusion at all, it is perfectly fine. Is interpretation needed? Of course, no. So, when is interpretation needed? Sometimes law is unclear, it is incomplete or ambiguous. At that time, interpretation is needed. Now, why law becomes unclear? Because language. Now, if it is in English language is so wide. One particular word would have multiple meanings. So, it might create some sort of confusion. And definitely, lawmakers, they are human beings. It can happen that they can make certain mistakes that can create some sort of ambiguity or confusion. That is why interpretation is needed. It is whose role? It is the role of court. I hope you are clear till here. So what is a statute? What is interpretation? What is interpretation of statute? Why is interpretation so important? When is interpretation required? When is it required? When the law is unclear. Only then interpretation is needed. And how should the courts interpret? The interpretation should be such that it fulfills the intention of the legislature. All of you clear? So this part is done. Next, kinds of statute. Important. What are the different kinds of statute? First, codifying statute. Earlier, there was unwritten law. Later, it got converted into written law. This is codifying statute. Okay? And we had customs and all of that. Earlier, it was in unwritten form. Later, it got converted into written form. This is codified statute. Declaratory statute. They don't make any alteration in the existing law. They just declares the law as it is. They explain law what it is. This is declaratory statute. Remedial statute. What do you mean by the word remedy? Solution. So it is that statute which is giving solution to the problem that was there at that time and no other law was addressing. So that is remedial statute. It is addressing a problem. It is a solution for a problem. Next, amending statute. It is altering the existing law. And then consolidating statute. There was different law. It is now combined. That is consolidating statute. And then enabling statute. Earlier, it didn't allow something. Now it is allowing. Enabling statute. Opposite of this, it allowed. Now it is not allowing. It is disabling statute. Okay. Next is penal statute. Impose a penalty. Simple. 8 types of statute you have to remember. Codifying statute, declaratory statute, remedial statute, amending statute, consolidating statute, enabling statute, disabling statute, and penal statute. Clear till here, all of you? All right. Next, need for interpretation of statute. I have already covered in detail. Now, you only tell me why is interpretation needed? When the language is not clear, ambiguous, or it is creating some sort of confusion, at that time interpretation is needed. And how should the statute be interpreted? In such a way that it fulfills the intention of the legislature. Clear? So, Halsbury's Law of England further clarifies the object of interpretation. In essence, every written document is taken to be the written declaration of its author's mind. The court must therefore find the meaning of the words. Whatever word is there, every word in the statute has a meaning. You can't ignore any word. If at all legislature has written certain words, every single word or and every word has a meaning. And you have to give the meaning, okay? So find meaning of the word and do not guess the intention. Interpret only what is expressed. Whatever is written, only that much, to that extent you have to do the interpretation. You don't have the authority to guess. Courts do not have the authority to guess or make certain random assumptions. No, they need to interpret considering only what is expressly given in the statute, okay? Next, apply the law on what is written. You cannot guess the law. All right? Yes. So this is the need for interpretation. Clear, all of you? Yes. Okay. Next, causes omissions rule. What does this say? Now see, sometimes it can happen that certain situations, certain things are left out by the legislature. So at that time, there would be some gap in the statute. Okay, certain times, certain things would be left out in the statute. You might feel that there is some gap in the statute. Now, can courts fill this gap by adding a word or by removing a word or by rewriting the word? What is the answer? No. Court cannot add a word or remove a word or rewrite the statute. No. See this? Causes omissus rule. Yeah. So situations that statute has not covered. Sometimes it can happen that certain situations statute did not cover. So now what does the fundamental principle say? It says court interpret the law. They do not legislate. It can be a great question for your exam. Court interpret the law. They do not legislate. What do you mean by legislate? Court does not. The legislate part is legislature's work, lawmakers' work. Okay, court's work is only to interpret the law. So court cannot add the words, court cannot remove the words, court cannot rewrite the provisions. Every word must be given the meaning. No addition or subtraction, no rewriting of statute. So your causes omissus rule, what is there? This rule is closely connected with literal rule of interpretation. So what is this literal rule? We'll come to that. But causes omissus rule is similar to literal rule of interpretation. Literal rule is what? Read the law as it is. Apply plain words. Okay. So this is causes omissus rule. Very, very important. So what did we understand here? Though, if at all any situations are missed by the legislature, can courts fill this gap? The answer is court cannot add any word, court cannot remove any word, court cannot rewrite the statute. But there is an exception. What is that? A judge normally follows exact words of the law, but in rare situation, judge can slightly adjust the wording only to make the law workable or sensible. Sometimes the provisions become absurd, totally unreasonable, unworkable. At that time, court has the authority to slightly adjust certain words to make the law workable. Because at the end, the ultimate purpose is law needs to be workable, right? So to do that, court has very limited power, and that too only in a very rare cases. Clear all of you? So that is why it is limited judicial discretion. Okay, generally court does not have the authority, but only in those rare cases court can slightly adjust the wordings only to make the law workable or sensible. Clear all of you? Everyone clear till here? Yes. Next, interpretation of definition clause. Let us understand. Before that, if at all the statute is clear and unambiguous, it is unambiguous, it is not ambiguous, at that time interpretation is needed? Of course, no. So when the statutory language is clear and unambiguous, courts must apply as it is. You don't do all of your interpretation. Apply it as it is. Okay. So most statute contain a definition section, your section 2 definition clause, right? What is the purpose of that? The purpose is it makes the interpretation much easier, because you can just check the meaning of the word and the meaning would be given there. And the same meaning applies to the entire statute unless it is not expressly mentioned. Clear? Yes, so most statute contain definition section, which is also called as interpretation clause. Highlight this. What do you mean by interpretation clause? Definition section itself is called as interpretation clause. Got it? Definition section itself is called as interpretation clause, which explains meaning of specific terms used in statute. Why is it needed? To ensure uniformity and to avoid confusion. Clear? So if at all no definition is given for any word, then use ordinary meaning. Okay. Interpretation at the end should support the purpose of the law. Got it all of you? Clear? Yes. Now, so this is done. To keep the definition flexible, legislatures often add the phrase unless the context otherwise required. If something else is needed, at that time, according to that, interpretation need to be done. It has to be changed. Else, the same definition is followed. Got it? Next, in definition, we have two types of definition. This is very, very important. You would have seen the word means, the word includes, correct? What do you mean by means? It is whenever you see means, this means this. At that time, you say it is exhaustive definition. It is closed definition. You cannot add whatever you want. Whatever is given, stick to that only. But in certain cases, you would have seen includes. That means it is a wide definition, open definition. You can add certain other things similar to the previous words. Correct? This is means and this is includes. So means is exhaustive definition. That means it is complete and closed. It restricts the meaning to what is given only. If law says employer means employee means a person employed on salary, court cannot include consultant. They have clearly told person employed under salary. No more inclusion. Clear, closed definition, because definition is closed. Now on the other hand, what is includes? Inclusive definition, where we can include certain other things. So it is expansive. It extends the meaning, covers similar cases. For example, if law says property includes land and building, you can include certain other things similar to this. That is inclusive definition. All of you clear till here? So we are done with what are the different types of definition, types of statutory definition. Okay. See, this particular chapter I have divided into two sets. Your first set should cover all of these topics. That is our goal, where today we will be covering all of these topics, and in our next session we will take up all the remaining topics. So here what all is covered as of now? Statute is covered. What is a statute? Meaning, need, kinds, everything is covered. This set is done. What is causes omissus rule? Done? Yes. And then we have also seen definition, two types of definition. And what is interpretation clause? Definition clause itself is called as interpretation clause, because that is the clause that helps in interpretation, right? Next, now we will see the most important aspect, rules of interpretation. What are the different rules that are there that the courts can use for interpreting the statute? They have segregated into two types, primary rules, secondary rules. Primary rules has 5 rules under them. Literal rule, Hayden's rule, which is also called as mischief rule. Rule of reasonable construction, which is also called as ut res magis valeat quam pariat. Read it again. Ut res magis valeat quam pariat. This is a Latin term and you need to remember it. Next is rule of harmonious construction, rule of ejusdem generis. Next comes the secondary rule. First is expressio unus exclusio alterius. Second, contemporanea exposito est optima et fortissima in lege. And then nociter associs. So these are the rules that you need to, that we will be covering now. Shall we start? So we'll start with primary rules of interpretation. First is literal rule. Let us start. Okay. What is literal rule? Words must be given natural, ordinary, popular, grammatical meaning. Give the words plain meaning. Don't use too much of your common sense. Don't overthink. Don't do all of that. Give the words plain meaning. Okay. So read the law as it is. This as simple as this. That's all. This is literal rule of construction. What is it? Words must be given natural, ordinary, popular, grammatical meaning, and read law as it is. Clear? There are certain exceptions when literal rule should not be applied. When it creates absurd result. By applying plain meaning, we are not getting the result we are not able to understand the intention of the legislature. What legislature has intended and what we are interpreting by applying plain meaning is different. At that time, don't do literal interpretation. Second, if it defeats the purpose of law, it is going away from the objective of the law. The object of the law is totally different. By applying literal interpretation, the object of the purpose of the law itself is getting defeated. At that time, don't do literal interpretation. Clear? There are certain important principles you need to know under literal interpretation. Very, very important points. So first thing, court must interpret law exactly as it is written, using ordinary meaning of words without changing anything. I'll repeat. Courts must interpret the law exactly as it is written, using ordinary meaning of words without changing anything. This is what literal interpretation say. Now, there are certain important points. Principles of literal interpretation, okay? So, every provision in law has a purpose. Interpretation should not make any part useless. This is the first principle of literal interpretation. What is literal interpretation? Every word you have to give meaning, because no word is just used. Every word has its own meaning. So give plain, grammatical, natural, ordinary meaning to every single word in the statute. Now, if that is the first principle, where every provision in law has a purpose. For example, company must maintain books and records. Now, law says company must maintain books and records. Can just court interpret company must maintain books and leave records? No. Records is also there. That is a different term. Books is different term. So you have to give importance to every word. Here it is and. They need to maintain both. So give importance to every word. This is what literal interpretation say. Next. If words are clear and simple, use their normal meaning. Don't modify the words. Okay. So if it all words are clear and simple, give the normal meaning, don't modify. That is the first, next principle of literal interpretation. Next is words always don't have same meaning everywhere. Based on subject matter, based on context, the meaning of the words keeps changing. It's especially English language. The language itself is like that. There is one word which has multiple meanings. So meaning depends on where and how they are used. So context is very, very important here. Got it? Next, judge cannot add or remove words unless there is a strong reason. This is very important, the most important point. Can judges add or just remove the word? No, causes omissus rule. Yes? Okay. Every word, proviso, explanation must work. One part should not destroy another. Now, there is a main rule and then there is proviso. What is proviso? Exception to the main rule. So basically it says that this proviso, it starts with provided that. This makes the main rule limited. Correct? That is the purpose of proviso. Now, the main rule is interpreted in a certain way. Your interpretation is making the proviso useless. Does that make sense? No. Your interpretation should make the proviso also workable. So one part of interpretation should not make the other part useless. Okay, both should workable. Correct? Understood? These are certain important principles of literal rule of interpretation. All of you clear with first rule? Very, very important this is. Okay, the most important rule of interpretation is literal rule. Clear? Okay. So under primary rule, we have literal construction. So under this rule, words, phrases and sentences of a statute are to be read in their natural, ordinary and popular and grammatical meaning unless that would create an absurd result. That is an exception we saw, right? We have seen two exceptions. What is it? Unless it creates absurd result or it defeats the purpose of law. Unless it does that, you can use literal interpretation. What are the principles of literal interpretation we saw? No redundancy. that is, interpretation must not render any other provision useless because every word has a meaning. Your interpretation should not make the other part useless. Next, plain words must be used first. If you can use the words without modifying anything, use plain words. Next, whenever you have to construe a statute or document, you do not construe it according to the mere ordinary meaning of the words, but according to the ordinary meaning of the words as applied to the subject matter. So, considering the context, meaning of the words change. Nothing to be added or taken away. And then every part must give effect. This is very important point. So, a construction must that leaves any part of the statutory language without effect is disfavored. Likewise, the main provision must not be construed so broadly that it makes its proviso redundant. Main provision and proviso both should have the interconnection. You cannot make the main provision workable and making the proviso useless. That should not be the purpose of interpretation. So the two basic maxims of literal construction important. Every word counts. This is the ultimate rule of literal interpretation, that literal interpretation says that every word has a meaning. You cannot just leave the words. No, you have to give meaning to every word. Read every word. No presumed omission. If the legislature has not used any word, court should not make the assumption, and it should not treat as if that word was there. I'll explain. If at all any word is missed out, court should not make the assumption that that word had to be there and the legislature did not use that word. No. So no presumed omission. Okay. So this is your literal construction. Clear all of you? Very simple, easy, but very, very important. Okay. Next is another most important, Hayden's rule, mischief rule. Something that you can really expect in your exam. So in Hayden's case, 4 questions were set out. We will see what is Hayden's rule now. Hayden's rule is also called as mischief rule. Remember both names, Hayden's rule, mischief rule. Why is it Hayden's rule? Because this was set out in the case, Hayden's case. Okay. So Hayden's rule focuses on, what do you mean by the word mischief? Problem. Okay. So Hayden's rule focuses on what problem the law was trying to solve. Instead of only reading words literally, the court asked the following 4 questions. What is Hayden's rule? What is mischief rule? What do you mean by the word mischief? Problem. So court needs to check what problem the law was trying to solve instead of only reading the words literally. What 4 questions? First, what was the old law before this new law? Now a new law has come up. Before this, what was the old law? First question. What was the common law before? What was the old law before? You have to write it as what was the common law before. Okay. What problem or defect was there in that old law? Now the new law has come. What was a problem that was there in that old law? What mischief did the common law fail to address? Okay. Next, what solution did the new law bring? What remedy solution, what remedy did Parliament provide to cure that mischief? What solution did the Parliament provide in this new law to solve that particular problem? Okay. What was the actual purpose behind making this law? What was the true reason for adapting the remedy? These are the 4 questions that court checks while interpretation. This is Hayden's rule. Clear all of you? Again, what are these 4 questions? In simple, what was the earlier law? What was the problem that earlier law could not cure? Third, what is the solution this new law is giving? Fourth, what was the actual intention for bringing this new law? Clear? What was the old law? What was the problem that old law had? What is the solution this new law is giving? What is the real intention for this new law? is the fourth question. But you have to read it as these four ways. What was the common law before? What mischief did common law fail to address? What remedy did Parliament provide to cure mischief? What was the true reason for adapting this remedy? All of you clear? Yes. So this is your mischief rule. Yes, in Hayden's case, say barons of the exchequer set out 4 questions to guide the sure and true interpretation of any statute: penal law or beneficial law, restrictive or enlarging of common law. First question: what was the common law before the act? What mischief or defect did the common law fail to address? What remedy did Parliament provide to cure that mischief? What was the true reason for adapting that remedy? Clear? Yes, so court must adapt the construction that shall suppress the mischief and advance the remedy. This can be a great question. The sentence, okay? I'll highlight. Yes. So how should the interpretation be done? Yeah. Courts must adopt the construction that shall suppress the mischief, that is, suppress the problem and increase the solution and advance the remedy. Suppress the mischief and advance the remedy. Suppress the problem and advance the solution. Yes. Yet, and how should you give the solution? By not twisting the words or ignoring the wider statutory context. You can't just randomly ignore the words. No, you have to give meaning to the words. Along with that, you have to make sure that you increase the solution and reduce the problem. Got it? Yes. So all of the case laws we'll take up separately after this. List of case laws are there. We'll just cover all the case laws at once so that you are sorted. First you read all the entire chapter and then you have list of case laws. Immediately you can check and then you have all the past year questions you can go through. Got it? So this is important. Choose interpretation that removes the defect and should not ignore the plain meaning completely. Okay, you can just write this down. Choose that interpretation that removes the defect but should not ignore plain meaning completely. Got it? Okay. Next comes your next rule, rule of reasonable construction. Ut res magis valeat quam pariat. Please remember the Latin term. Sometimes you would know, okay, this is rule of reasonable construction, but you would have forgotten what is the Latin term, and they would have asked this in the exam. So please know the Latin term. That means what? What does this Latin term mean? This Latin term mean court should interpret the law in a way that makes it effective and workable, not useless or ineffective. What does this rule say? Courts should interpret the law in a way that makes that particular law effective and workable and not ineffective. Simple. Whatever interpretation you are doing, by that interpretation, you have to make sure that particular law is workable, not ineffective. This is the meaning of this rule. So that ut res magis valeat quam pariat, so that the thing may rather have effect than fail. Make sure that it has effect rather than fail. Okay. So what does this rule say? What are the essence of this rule? Simple 4 points you need to remember. Make statute effective. That is the first purpose. By applying this rule, you have to make the statute effective. Use your common sense. Second, give effect to intention. Focus on intention of the legislature. Departure from literal meaning allowed when it defeats the purpose, it creates injustice. Only when should you deviate from the literal interpretation? Only when it defeats the purpose of the law or it creates injustice. Only in these two cases you have to deviate from the literal interpretation. Got it, all of you? Yes. So these are the 4 essence of this rule. What is this rule? Ut res magis valeat quam pariat. Rule of reasonable construction. Got it? So we are done with how many rules? Rule of literal interpretation, Hayden's rule, which is also called as mischief rule, and then rule of reasonable construction, ut res magis valeat quam pariat. Clear, all of you? Shall we proceed? All the case laws will be covered. Yes, next rule. Rule of harmonious construction, creating harmony. Whenever there is some conflict, let us focus on creating a harmony. That is the purpose of rule of harmonious construction. Whenever there is some conflict, let us create a harmony. Peace. Let us bring in peace. This is rule of harmonious construction. Let us see what is this rule. Yeah. Rule of harmonious construction. A statute must be read as a whole. Why? Because one section should not conflict with another. All provisions must work together smoothly. This avoids conflict between the provisions. Court should try to reconcile the provision and give effect to both. What are they telling here? Now there are two provisions, two sections. You have to make sure if there is any conflict between them, you have to make sure, court needs to make sure that it is giving effect to both by creating harmony. This is only rule of harmonious construction. Okay, first thing is you have to read the statute as a whole. One section, you read it separately, individually. No, you have to read it along with other sections. Only then you understand the intention properly. Correct? So, to prevent head-on clash. What is head-on clash? Interpret the provisions in a way that harmonizes them. Okay, to prevent the conflict between the both. There is an operational test here. What is operational test? When two provisions conflict, they have to try to give effect to both. Whenever there is conflict between two provisions, try giving effect to both. But giving effect is not possible. That time, one provision may override, but only to the minimum extent necessary. You can override the other provision, but it should not override like this. No, it should override where there is only minimum extent necessary. How much minimum extent possible? Only to that extent it can override. Got it, all of you? So what is the primary rule you need to remember here? When there is any conflict between the provision, both should be given effect. That is the purpose. And then there is something called as operational test. What is this? When two provisions conflict, try to give effect to both. But if it is impossible, one provision may override. But to what extent it can override? Only to minimum extent necessary it can override. So that this provision is not making this provision useless. Okay. So this is rule of harmonious construction. As the name suggests, it is the purpose is to create harmony between the provisions. Clear? This is your next rule. And then the last rule of primary rule, rule of adjustum generis, a very important rule and a very interesting rule. This rule says when you have specific terms which is followed by general term, then this general term derives its meaning from the specific term. I'll tell. Adjustum generis, first of all, it is a Latin term. What is the meaning of this? Of the same kind or species. So when specific words plus general words are used, then general words are restricted to same category. I will give an example. Law says car, bike, truck and other vehicles. Now what should be included in other vehicles? Aeroplane, can it be included? Ship, can it be included? No. You can include such other similar motor vehicle or such other similar road vehicle. Got it? So that is the purpose of adjustum generis, where it is this other vehicle, which is a general term, other vehicles. That means it has many category in that. This category derives its meaning from this specific category. Understood? This, the first part is specific category here. So this general category derives its meaning from the specific category. Got it? Rule of adjustum generis. So other vehicles here means similar to car, bike, truck. Of course, it can't be aeroplane because here clearly they are talking about road transport, right? Or it could be a motor transport, but specifically it is road transport. Okay, and then it prevents over expansion of general words. If at all, imagine rule of adjustum generis was not there. At that time, you can include bullock cart also. You can include any vehicle. But because of this rule of adjustum generis, you are limiting yourself to only that specific terms. You are not making it very wide. Okay. So law stays at that time within the limited scope. This is the intention behind adjustum generis. Prevents over expansion of general words. Clear? All right. There are certain conditions very important for adjustum generis. We will see each of the condition. Okay. Yes. So the very first condition, law must give list of specific items. Now without specific items, general item cannot derive its value. So first, give us the list of specific items. In our example, car, bike, truck, it was the list of specific items. So first, give that. Second, all those items must belong to one common category. Okay. So you cannot just randomly write car, girl, boy, flower. No, it doesn't make sense. Whatever list you are giving, it should all belong to one category. Okay. Only then that general term can derive its value from that category. To apply adjustum generis rule, what is the first condition? First, give us the list of specific item. Then, that specific item list should all be under same category. Okay. Third, after specific words. Just a minute. So after specific words, there must be a general word. Only then you can apply adjustum generis rule, right? For you to apply, for courts to apply adjustum generis rule, first thing what? Specific category should be there and then general category should be there. Both has to be there. Only then adjustum rule can be applied. That category should have multiple meaning. Now, if other vehicle had only one category, let's say there was no other form of vehicle, it was only one vehicle. At that time, you don't need this rule. This rule is needed when certain other things also can be included, but we don't want to include so much. Why? Because we want to make it very limited and within the scope of the law. That is why we give the meaning similar to specific words. Next, the list should not be complete. If the list is complete, why this rule? This rule is there only when the list is not complete and we need to include other things. Next, adjustum generis will not apply if statute shows intention to give wide meaning. Now, statute itself says you can include more meaning. You can include more other things. At that time, don't apply adjustum generis. For example, if law says car, bike, truck or anything. Now, statute is only telling anything. That means statute wants the definition to be very wide. Okay. So at that time, don't use the rule of adjustum generis and make it limited because statute wants it to be wide. All right. So this is adjustum generis. To apply adjustum generis, these are the conditions that needs to be followed. All of these conditions should be there. What are those? Quickly, law must give list of specific items. Allow those items. All those items must include, must belong to one category. All specific words. After specific words, there must be general words. The category should have multiple types. The list should not be complete. Adjustum generis will not apply if statute intention is to make the meaning wide. Clear all of you? So these are all your rules of primary rules of interpretation. Got it? What are those primary rules? First is literal construction. Hayden's rule, mischief rule. Third, rule of reasonable construction, ut res magis valeat quam pariet. And then comes rule of harmonious construction. And then adjustum generis, which is the rule that has 4 questions that needs to be addressed. Hayden's rule, which is also called as mischief rule. Clear all of you? Yes. Now we will continue with the secondary rule of interpretation. First, the first rule under secondary rule is expressio unus est exclusio alterius. Okay? Expressio unus est exclusio alterius. They are telling exclusive, exclusion, exclude, something. It is similar to that. What are they telling here? Expressio, express mention of one thing, exclusio, excludes others. Express mention of one thing excludes others. What is it? Express mention of one thing excludes others. Now, if law says leave applicable for employees and managers, at that time, it implies that it is not available to interns. Got it? What are they telling here? Leave available to employers and managers only. They are expressly mentioning one category. That means they are excluding the other category. Expressly, if they are mentioning one category, they are excluding the other category. This is the meaning of your first rule under secondary rule of interpretation. Express mention of one thing excludes another. Simple. Next, contemporaria exposito. Next, interpretation is based on understanding at the time of enactment. See, now the law under earlier, very old, at that time, law related to cybercrime, all of that, it was not there. It's something that has come recently. Why? Because society demanded that. Because the situation demanded that. Earlier, there was no technology, so law related to technology was not needed. As and when the situation demands, law is also required. So you need to check at the time when the law was made. What was the situation? Not current situation. When it was made, what was the situation that it was trying to address? At that time, you understand the intention of legislature. Got it? Old law uses the word telegraph, let's say. This is an example. Old law uses the word telegraph. At that time, what is the meaning of telegraph? You need to check. Understanding? So this is this rule where it says interpretation should be based on understanding at the time of the enactment. What is the sentence you need to remember? Interpretation based on understanding at the time of enactment. Clear? Interpretation based on understanding at the time of enactment. Got it? If only one correct meaning exists, then court will follow that correct meaning only, even if the past practice was wrong. Okay? So if something was wrong, don't follow that. But if at all things are right at that time, you have to give the meaning how it was there at that time. This is your next rule, next secondary rule. And then coming to the last rule, nocitur associis. What is this? Meaning of the words depend on surrounding words. Okay, for example, law says books, journal, newspaper and other documents. So here documents means reading material, not legal contract. Simple as that. So what does this rule say? Meaning of the words depend on surrounding words. Simple. So we are done with all our rules of interpretation. Got it, all of you? I hope you all are clear till here. Next, let us quickly cover the next part. Strict versus liberal construction. As the word suggests, strict construction is what? It is a narrow approach. Court follows exact words of the law. Nothing extra is added. Only what is clearly written is considered. Even if the result is harsh, court still follows the wording. Strict interpretation. Whatever is expressly mentioned, give the meaning as it is. Next is liberal construction, opposite of the other one, broad interpretation. Court focuses on the purpose of the law. Okay, it tries to solve the problem, expand the meaning if needed, ensure justice and benefit. So courts can use literal rule, mischief rule, golden rule. This is strict versus liberal construction. Clear, all of you? Then, what do you mean by presumption? So, presumption means if the law is clear, no need of presumption, of course. First, we will see what is presumption. Now, courts make certain logical assumptions that, see, legislature has given this word, that means legislature is correct. Legislature cannot make mistakes. There are certain logical assumptions court makes. That is called as presumption. What is presumption? Court must court must deem certain things to be true and correct. Court must deem certain things to be true and correct. Court must proceed to interpret with the conception of correctness of certain things. This is a very, very important two sentence you have to remember for exam for this topic of presumption. What is presumption? Court must deem certain things to be true and correct. Court must proceed to interpret with the conception of correctness of certain things. Court is making certain logical assumptions that, see, legislature is correct. There are certain presumptions. Now, what are those logical assumptions court can make? What are those logical assumptions court will make? What are those presumptions? Let us see that list. Clear? Understood what is presumption? Now we will cover that list. First, words are precise. Legislature uses the words carefully and not casually. First, presumption. This is something we have already covered by now. So first, next is no taking away vested rights. Existing rights of the people cannot be taken away unless clearly mentioned or necessarily implication. And then mens rea, guilty mind, criminal law. So crime needs guilty mind. That is the presumption that the court is making. That is the assumption, logical assumption that if it is a crime, then guilty mind is required. Next is state not bound. Law does not apply to government unless expressly mentioned. Unless expressly mentioned mean what? If at all it is mentioned that it will be applicable on them, it will be applicable. Else, presumption is it will not be applicable. Okay. Consistency with international law. Courts try to interpret law so that it does not conflict with international law. Legislature knows the law. Assumption is legislature is aware of existing law. Existing law continues unless expressly changed. Legislature knows how executive works and judiciary works. If law gives power, it also gives incidental powers needed to use it. Supporting powers, okay? Incidental power is court assumes no drafting mistake. Will not correct errors unless intention is clear. Law will not force anyone to do useless or meaningless act. Legal fiction, that is, you are just assuming certain things. Court may assume something false as true to achieve justice. Now, certain biological child, adopted child is not the biological child, but court treats that child as his real child. So this is the legal fiction. Court is assuming something that is not true to give justice. Treating something as existing even if it doesn't. Now, company is a person, right? Can company file a case? Yes, but company doesn't exist. It is a person. So it's a legal fiction. Okay. Next, powers and duties go together. If power is given, then duty also follows. If law gives strong power, then it must be used fairly. Principle of natural justice, your sources of law, which we have already covered in detail. Yes, these are the presumptions that court makes. So this is the topics that I wanted to cover in this particular session. We will see if it is covered. Yes, so next we have covered all the primary rules and then all the secondary rules. What is strict and liberal construction and what is presumption? I hope you all are clear till here. This is the first part of this particular chapter. I want you all to be very, very thorough till here. And then watch the next session where all the other topics will be covered. Okay. So let us quickly check all the past year questions pertaining to this topic. This will be your homework where you need to solve these. So first question. Let us quickly just go through. Explain the rule expressio unius est exclusio alterius under interpretation of statute. Easy, you know it. If the intention of the legislature is not clear, there are number of presumptions. So you need to explain what is presumption, what are the different types of presumptions. They have asked any 4 presumption. You have to mention those 4. Explain Hayden's rule. And then Hayden's rule is what? Those 4 questions. And then adjustum generis. And then what are the merits and demerits of this rule? So we have seen certain conditions and all of that. In the interpretation of statute, a judge must not alter the material of which it is woven, but it can and should iron out the creases. All our introduction part, what I told, causes omissus rule, judge should not alter or add or subtract, okay, unless and until it is making the statute unworkable. At that time, the court has the power to make certain adjustments. So, what is presumption? Next question. Discuss the rule of harmonious construction. What is an enactment? There are 2 provisions which cannot be reconciled. They should be do so. So all of these things, so both have to be given effect. Rule of harmonious construction. Explain the object of interpretation. What is the function of the court in interpretation? All our introduction part. And then what is the statute? Different kinds of statute. We have seen there are 8 kinds of statute: codified statute, enabling, disabling, penal statute, all of that. And then explain the rule of nociter ausis. What is where the intention of the legislature is not clear in the statute. There are number of presumptions applied for the interpretation of statute. So all of these questions is something that we have already seen now. So please make sure that you solve all of these questions. So answer to these questions will be there in the next session, where either in the description box I'll give, or if time permits, we'll cover it off. So yes, all right then. So I hope you understood everything and everything is clear. If there is any doubt, please comment down below. Whatever is something we have left out, we will just take it up in our next session. All right.